Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Great morning to you.
Happy Thursday.
What's
Yes,
going down, man?
indeed. Another edition of the Brothers Who, nope, they don't talk. The Brothers of Legacy.
That's later. That's later.
The Brothers of Legacy, where we don't stand out, we stand up. So I appreciate you guys rocking with us today. Um, so we're gonna have an awesome show. As you can see, the topic is up. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring. Make sure you share.
Hey,
I'm,
y'all.
I'm getting a little feedback from somebody. If you
I
turn
know.
down your
Well,
headphones,
I cut my.
something.
I had my phone on for a minute, so I
Oh,
turned it down.
Dwayne's there. Blessings, Lisa. Oh, Lisa's first. Blessings to you, my friend.
Actually, if
Oh,
you want to
what's
be
up,
technical
Deborah?
about it, Dwayne was
Uh-oh.
there first.
I know.
Mine's
He was
on.
already sitting in the
That'll count.
room. He was already
Right.
sitting in the room.
That'll count.
Oh,
That'll
okay.
count.
Okay. All right.
Hey, mother. How you doing,
Hey,
mom?
what's up, Mama Corey? Cheryl in the building. She said nope. All right, guys, let's get into it. Oh, so we get this awesome topic kicked off. All right, be right with you.
But don't be the meal. You know when you said that, don't be the meal.
Experience is the best teacher, but truth is the Holy Spirit
I
is the
feel
best
like
teacher.
if you can find the straightest path to the queen that you're supposed to be with, I believe in, and she finds her straightest path to you, and I think it gets away from all those, the skeletons in the closet.
We aim for the wrong things.
Right.
We aim to make our children a good husband. We aim to make our children good wives or successful businessmen or whatever.
Right.
The aim is wrong.
Trending is not happening without curiosity. So what's driving curiosity? You understand? People that are successful, people that are effective in life are people with priorities.
Yes.
Yo, I'm telling y'all, that intro is ridiculous. It's really and not because the music is great, but just the whole production of it is just it was really something, man.
Yeah, there's no.
The AD did his thing with that.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning.
Hey, sports car lady. Yeah, that
Morning,
intro
sport
is
car
pretty
lady.
dope. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And then
Sports car
Dwayne
lady.
come in there, we aim for the wrong things.
He's not here to defend himself.
No, he's not.
I don't. Sports car lady. Anybody know her first name?
Cheryl. And I think I got it right this time.
We got like four
Cheryl, the
Cheryl.
sport car lady, and then we got Cheryl from Cali.
Right, Cheryl from
We
Cali.
got Cheryl from Cali.
It's a Hype Williams,
California.
not Hype
Yeah,
Williams.
okay.
Well, yeah, see, Cheryl. See, I got it
All right, Cheryl.
All right.
Is that
All
why
right.
should they call you sports car? Do you have a Corvette, sports car lady? And she's got to have a convertible or something in order to get that.
All right,
All
let's
right.
get
How to be
Cheryl the
effective?
Pearl.
Let's do it. Cheryl the Pearl.
Any
All right.
relation to Earl the Pearl?
There we go.
Y'all
All
don't know
right.
who Earl the Pearl is. See, y'all don't even know.
Nah, you got me there, buddy.
A legend NBA basketball player.
Yes.
Oh,
I know the name. I know the name. Oh, she said I used to.
okay.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So today we talk about how to be an effective leader. How to be an effective leader. We kind of talked about correction yesterday. We talked about kind of like who you should follow, why you follow. And kind of today we're going to talk about being an effective leader. And of course, these are our perspectives based on what we've seen done right, what we've seen done wrong. So it's just kind of a framework for effective leadership. So we're going to kind of dig into that. And of course, as always, this is our base of the topic. And then we always branch out into other places. That's the fun part. All right. So let's start. Let's point some folk out. Where we at? Bam, Terry. After take your sip, what do you consider an effective leader?
One of the first things when I think about be an effective leader is to be able to listen.
Good morning.
Listen.
Right.
What's up, Dave?
Right.
Listening skills is a must as a
All right.
leader, because if you're not listening to your people, I think we talked about this yesterday a little bit. If you don't listen to your people, you really can't be an effective leader. So yeah, listening, being able to hear.
All right.
I guess we'll go in rotation, I guess. To me, I think approach is key.
Ooh, okay.
Approach is key. I just had a situation recently where there was a leader who me and my wife went to go help and went to go serve because we was in covenant with them. And sometimes people don't realize that frustration can make you have a faulty perspective about the people who are around you. And this is why we got to be very careful about how we approach people, what we say to them, how we say it to them. Because, man, you could have the right thing and say it the wrong way.
Right.
You know, and it can cause offense to those who are supposed to be defending you. And I don't think we realize that, especially in the Bible context, because y'all know I'm a biblical man. So, you know, I'm still getting adjusted to all these other political topics we be talking about on this thing.
Yeah.
But from a biblical standpoint, I think we have to realize that leadership is not just an art, but leadership is also a deposit of a spirit.
Okay. Okay.
And when Jesus was cultivating his disciples, he was not just trying to show them skills,
Right.
but he was trying to deposit a spirit in them that they can carry on in what he deposited into them. So I think approach is really key when it deals with effective leadership.
Okay.
Pastor?
Pass the peas like you used to do.
I think that leadership requires knowing your DNA.
Yeah.
Right. Your DNA of leadership. It's great to Dr. Burton's point to pick up positive traits, characteristics, or the spirit of those that have blazed the trail before you. But I think it's more important it's as equally of importance to understand your own DNA, right? Make it your own. David was going to battle and they gave him someone else's armor that was victorious. And he said, you know, this is good, but this is not, I have not tried these. These have not been tried by me.
Yeah, it ain't been proven that way.
Say that, what'd you say, bro?
I said, it ain't been proven.
It has not been proven. And so he was able to take the mindset of those that came before him, but use his own stuff and still be victorious. So I think it's important to know your DNA, be your own, so that you don't get caught up in trying to duplicate or imitate someone else.
Wow. Now, Pastor, I got a question for you, because I know that you are a senior leader. And most senior leaders say with their mouth, be yourself.
He didn't call him 080.
Until it's time to be yourself. And then it causes conflict with what their desire is or their methodology, if you will. So how do you deal with that portion of it?
So you gonna just call me straight out? Okay.
Yeah. and he saw the bus coming. He still kept it running.
Listen. So here's my truth, and I have one of my folks who comes to church with me to validate this.
Okay. Right. He saw the bus coming. Ran him over.
I stay in trouble for doing me.
Right.
I stay in trouble because I challenge culture. Right. Because, you know, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they said they called me a marketplace preacher.
Right.
Meaning that I could go over here and preach, but I could also go over here and preach.
Oh.
And some of the challenges that we have, especially in the church, not in the kingdom, but in the church, is exactly that point, Burton, is we want you to be yourself until you get up in front of until you get up in front of my people.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I want you to do what I do.
Right.
And if you don't look like me doing it, then I'm gonna sit you down. And I think one of the greatest challenges, one of the greatest interruptions or disruptions to the growth of our people in the church, in the kingdom, is just that. There's nothing wrong with tradition. There's nothing wrong with culture until it trumps doctrine, until it trumps the word of God. Right. I've come, my mind has been changed because of the complicit church. My mind has been changed because of the implicit bias in the church.
Right.
My mind has been changed. There is nothing wrong. And I'm look, there's a brother, I think his name is Isaiah Washington, and he just wrote a book called the Black Church Empowered. The Black Church Empowered. You heard about that? Doing some great things, and he was interviewing this sister. It's on Facebook. You can find it. He's interviewing this sister, and her name is Dr. Teresha Lee, I believe is her name. Okay. And they talk about, you know, we need to, there's nothing wrong with the quote unquote black church. What do I mean by that? As an effective leader, don't forget your trailblazers. Right? Because we can get so busy blazing a trail that we dismiss those who came before us.
Hey.
As if we were the first ones to pour water in the glass.
Right.
Right. You know, so I think being effective means don't forget your trailblazers. And I mean, like in the church, you know how you sit the mothers down and they're sitting over in the corner. If they're your spiritual parents, shouldn't you look like them? Yeah, you should look like them. People should be able to recognize the DNA is there.
Right.
But you should also be able to use the tools that God gave you. If God wanted you to mimic the other person, then he's basically saying, I don't need you. There's a reason why we all have different fingerprints.
Right.
Even though we look alike.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think another thing about that spiritual parent thing, because, you know, that's a whole nother conversation within itself.
It is.
That's a whole nother ball game. And I think sometimes people don't realize that that most people have submitted under leadership that never had anything to do with their cultivation process.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how can you effectively lead somebody or help somebody become who they are, and you never took time to find out where they came from?
And listen, I tell people this all the time, Burton. Listen, you call yourself somebody's spiritual father, but you were never there in the Gerber days.
Come on.
Wow.
And then they want to claim, and there's some people want to claim certain things and about your success, about what you've established and what you've accomplished. But not realizing that nobody could have took the credit for what David did behind the scene.
Come on, man.
You know, and so sometimes leaders have to understand that some people are already coming with a history with God.
Right.
They already. Let me say this though. Let me say this because I want to say this, and that's absolutely true.
Get in trouble, Pastor.
Listen. As a leader, as a pastor, as a preacher, I've learned that when I have a first-time visitor in the church, why is it that the first-time visitor has to get saved?
Right.
Isn't it possible that the first-time visitor already has Christ?
Right.
Yeah. Hey. So if your discernment is active, spirit is subject to spirit. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
So somebody walking up in your church and you can't tell nothing. You don't know nothing about their relationship with God. But when you're preaching and you do the altar call, you kind of look it over at the court.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. I've seen pastors get up there and be like, the doors of the church are not open if you have not received Christ.
But I'm guilty. I had to get delivered from that. I had to get delivered from that, man. You know, and so I just it's an encouragement. It's not you know. I'm not trying to convict anybody that something you are a heaven and a heathen.
A heathen. I guess heathen.
Yeah. So I think that the mark of a great leader is observation, right? It's insight. I call it it's availability, right? You can discern it. It's all of those things. And you're slow to speak and swift to hear. I think that sometimes we take too much for granted as leaders, especially in the church, right? I want to evaluate you.
Right.
I'll evaluate you before I position you, but I don't need to evaluate you before you become a part.
Right.
Right. See, wait a minute. You said something, Pastor. That was important because sometimes people can be very hypocritical.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do to others what were done to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoa. And it's just like, wait a minute. If you didn't like it when you was trying for somebody to recognize you, or why would you do that to somebody else?
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, when they get to a certain position of leadership, they forget what it was like to come up in the ranks. Just like we talked about yesterday, about the army.
Right.
They forget that you used to be a soldier.
Right.
And it was some stuff that was offensive as a soldier. Right. That's going to be offensive as you go up. And the higher you go up, the greater the offense comes.
Right.
Because you're just like, I got history, I got experience, and you try to make me like I'm just a hypocrite and I'm just a, I'm
just got it.
Right.
Right.
So, that's my thing. I think what Pastor's saying about the observation thing is really important because some people put folk in the wrong places and then they wonder why their leadership is always questioned.
One more, I think it's one other thing that's important. I think that's important is, and I think Chris might have mentioned this earlier, but if he did, it bears repeating. To me, as an effective leader, you have to be able to fix your face and not tact. That's what I'm looking for. Tact, learn a level of tact, because even when you're delivering information, whether it be good or bad, whether you're chewing somebody out or whether you're putting somebody in their place or whatever, there's got to be a level of tact. Because sometimes some leaders I've been in situations where some leaders just didn't know how to do that, and then they would come off as offensive, they would come off as crazy, side-eyed, all that. So I think as an effective leader, to me, you have to learn how to be able. I mean, because I'm sure, as a Brian, Chris, yourself, AD, when you've had to deal with something, and before you dealt with it, before King Petty came out, we had to sit down and be like, okay, let me figure this out because if we react of the first thing it's going to be nasty. So we have to sit, and so I think that's a sign of an effective leader is being able to sit down and say, okay, let me calm down first before I say this.
Yeah, I mean, just transparent moment, fellas. This is just a real transparent moment. Yes, I'm on Facebook Live, but it's real transparent. I was about to send a text message this morning to a leader. Just transparent. Because my thing is, and then God erased it. I didn't erase it. God erased it. Because sometimes when you are offended, the first thing that you want to do is clap back.
Right.
Yep.
Especially when the leader is responding not out of his mandate, but out of his manhood.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes leaders don't understand that there's a real thin line with that. Right. And this is not Old Testament church. This is Gentile generation. They said we gonna fight you before we gonna fight and then come back later.
It is. I think it
and
is.
so God had to erase that text message this morning because I was about to get him. But then I had to realize that sometimes we have to check us
Yeah, we
to
do.
make sure that our motive is right for why we're trying to address an issue. I think that's another thing about effective leadership is knowing when and when not to address an issue.
Right.
Yeah, a sense of awareness. That
Yeah.
I think that there's nothing that can tear leadership down more. But I think, one thing that we have to remember, there's a lesson here for leaders, and there's also a lesson for followers.
Yes.
Leaders cannot be afraid to fail.
Right.
Leaders cannot be afraid to fall.
Right.
We fall down, but we get up, as the songwriter said. A just man falleth 7 times is what the scripture says.
Right.
I think it's important that, I think I said this a couple of days ago, that, even in my own home, my children, my family has seen me fail.
Right.
But they don't focus on the failure. They focus on the comeback. You have to be able to come back from it. And I think that sometimes we can be very prideful. We can be very protective of ourselves. And not wanting people to see us fail. And I think that the mark of a great leader is not fearing failure, right? I think the church is not a big fan of failure, but I think the problem is that in the church, when we succeed together, but when we fail individually.
Right.
No one wants to be connected to that failure.
Right.
Yeah, right. I was just about to say, where's Dwayne?
And I think that's what happens. And I think as leaders, we have to remember that we succeed together and we also fail together.
Right.
And a lot of the problems in the failure is that it's, a failure is based on one person's idea.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what it is?
Wants to be a part of the success.
Right.
I took out the trash. Well, I'm the one who did the program. But everybody's a part of that. And if something fails, well, I didn't want to do it in the first place.
But we know what it is. I think, and I think you mentioned it like yesterday. I think it was off camera. I don't know if we did it on, but how we have an idea, or God shows us something, and then we give it to the people, and everybody's excited. And we start moving on it, then it plummets and crashes. So like we can't, the people I think are on the slide trying to blame God, but we can't really blame him. We're going to blame you, but it wasn't, but we all were in agreement on this thing. And God said, do it, but he didn't necessarily say do it right now, but we was all in agreement on moving on this thing. Cause you brought it to the people. I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And because it's not a success, now we're focused on, oh, Pastor, you made some missteps, instead of what did we all do wrong in this process, or what went wrong, and let's just move forward, pray about it, and see how we can fix this thing, move forward, together, fulfill the mandate of God, because it happens a lot. We all see it in churches, something go wrong, everybody's pointing at the pastor, all right, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. This boat ain't God's boat, because everything ain't perfect. Because that's what it is essentially. Like everything ain't float right. I'm out of here. This thing should be. If God's in it, it should be perfect.
Learn to ride together.
Well, I think that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say an old movie quote when we talk about riding. Getting there and riding the thing together.
Right.
We ride together. We die together.
Dwayne is so petty. Talking about I'm missed.
He is missed. He don't think he's missed. Yeah. Yeah.
But just to add to AP's point, I think another attribute of effective leadership is understanding timing.
Right.
Yeah. That timing piece thing is just really something, and I think the preparation piece too of what we was talking about yesterday is really key. Because sometimes people plan to fail because they don't plan to succeed. And preparation takes time. I mean, you got people who want to do a grand project, but only put 7 days into it.
Right.
That's not going to help nobody, you know.
Right.
And so people don't realize that sometimes to really be successful as a leader, you have to have competent leaders around you. Now, another question for Pastor McQuarrie. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get him today.
I hear the bus. I hear it. See,
Hold on.
Yeah, put a single screen. There you go.
But of course, we know that competent leadership is important around senior leader. What is your process when you are looking at supportive leaders, and what is it that you require of them in order for them to walk with you effectively?
What are the question, Dwayne?
So I think the best example that I've learned, that I've gotten or gleaned from is Joshua, right? Joshua and Moses. And I often share this story, or this excerpt of the story, that the first public assignment in Moses' old age to Joshua was to go out and fight the Amalekites, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what the Lord showed me in that is that I didn't hear anything about Joshua before that. So the first you hear about Joshua, he's being instructed to go fight. Right? Which means that whatever Moses knew about Joshua, it was private.
Wow. That's powerful.
Right? So Joshua built private leadership equity with his leader before he was given an assignment, a public assignment. And no one could say anything because Moses told him to go choose out men and go fight, which means that he went out with the endorsement of his leader.
Right.
All right. So to me, with leaders, I'm always looking for somebody. When I start evaluating leadership, I'm looking for somebody that I trust I can go to battle with. Right. I'm looking for people that have built up enough equity in my experience with them that I'm comfortable sending them out to fight. If I'm not comfortable sending you anywhere, then there's probably going to be an issue. And so leaders have to know that. I don't want to put you. I said this yesterday. There are certain people you can put over projects, and there's certain people you can put over people. Right. I don't want you to kill the people's motivation because you're good at projects. So when we talk about that sense of awareness, we talk about that evaluation. Leaders should always be evaluating people. They should always be looking for the gifts and the talents. You should always be discerning those things, right? Because I believe in leading from behind.
Right.
But when I say that, I'm saying I start out in the front, but because I keep pulling people and pushing people, I end up in the back of the crowd, still leading. That's what I think effective leadership is, when you can identify those traits and qualities in people and you begin to push them out front. So that's
powerful.
Yeah.
Because I think another part of that too, Pastor, is leaders have to know when the people that's following you have evolved.
Yes.
Now this is really something.
Right.
Because this folk will be like, I've been with my pastor 10 years. I've been with my leader 30 years. But you've never evolved in your leadership capacity in order for your leader to trust you to send you somewhere.
Right.
And so I think as you evolve, your relationship, with your leader have to evolve.
Yeah.
And then there has to be a common respect that everybody's growing. And what I've found and what I've seen in seasons past is the sons are growing, but the father is not.
Yeah.
And now the sons and the father is in the same field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now there's a threat that the sons are outdoing the father, but that's not true at all.
Right.
If the relationship is not evolving and growing, you're always going to feel intimidated of somebody who's in the same field as you.
Right.
Well, I think there's some gray area there, because we want those coming behind us to go further than we went.
Right. I'm gonna say that.
I think the challenge is when it comes to positioning the organizational piece, not the mental, psychological, spiritual, or the mentoring piece.
Right.
But when it comes to the chase for an office, like if we're all still working in ministry, we're working in the church or working in the business, I want my sons and daughters to grow up and go further than I did. Right. But it's difficult for them to do that if I want to keep my seat.
That's powerful, Pastor.
Right. And to your point, what you're saying is sons and daughters are competing with their spiritual with their leaders,
right,
for the same seats, and that's where you have the conflict. I believe that if I want you to go further, if I never evolve mentally, spiritually as your leader, then you're going to outgrow me. Absolutely.
Right.
But I never stop learning, so I continue to mentor you.
Right. And I think the sight and perspective kind of shifts. Where right now, like Burton, I might be teaching you, from a higher place in the sense, and then as you grow and develop, we become kind of equal, but because of my like you said with him as a senior, I got some years. I've seen some more things that you have not, and he's evolving, so I can still show you some things. But like you said, your relationship evolves. It becomes a little different. Now, like, I'm not on your back as much about certain things because now you have an understanding of where I'm at. So now I'm just kind of guiding you, nudging you, and there's gonna be things you're like, man, listen, Pastor, I've never seen something like this before. How can I handle this? And then I can give you the guidance that you need to get to where God has called you to be. So I think it is a shift, but like you said, and I think it's like two things. One, your leader may not be evolving, and two, I like the way my church is flowing. You growing is gonna mess up what I like every Sunday. Bert, I love you, man. You are an awesome preacher, but I like you there on that organ.
You prophesy, and you prophesy, and you don't even know it. So you don't even realize, because see, here's the thing. People say, okay, I want competence. And see, let me go back a little bit, because real sonship understand that the place of the father can never be revoked.
Right.
Real sons understand that we will never be on the level of the father, but they also understand that they're coming into their own fatherhood. They're coming into their own maturity. And when you come into that, you don't need somebody dictating to you like you 5 years old and now you 40 with kids, your own family. That dynamic in the conversation has to shift. Right. But I think sometimes, just like AD said, you have leaders who really don't understand that evolving process. And I think that's where we have been stuck in the body of Christ.
Here's why. The reason why is we fail to understand, we fail to understand the subtle difference between teacher and mentor.
Wow.
Right? Okay. A teacher has information, has knowledge that they want to pour into you.
Right.
The definition, the difference, if you look it up, a mentor has perspective. Right? Teacher has information they want to pour into you. A mentor has perspective. A teacher corrects your paper. A mentor edits.
Whew. Say it again.
Right? A teacher edits. A teacher corrects papers.
I gotta get my
sound. A mentor edits your work.
Right.
So, a mentor is a guide, is a buffer. is what you, and I think, and to your point, Burton, I think we get those two things confused, which is why we become stagnant, because what happens is there's nothing wrong when a teacher evolves into a mentor.
Right.
Because now I've given you as much as I have. Now all I can do is continue to guide and give you my perspective based on my experience.
Right.
Right. And you know, I think Goodson said people don't like to be sunned nowadays. I said this. I was sitting at a table in a ministry meeting,
right,
and someone brought up the topic, the scripture that says, "Call no man father but the Lord."
Right.
Right. And the leader, the senior leader at the table said, "Well, these are my sons and my daughters."
Mm-hmm.
And I was conflicted, and I made the mistake. It was a mistake. I made the mistake of saying, well, if you really call these your sons and daughters, when I look around, I would like to call you a deadbeat daddy.
Did you say that?
I said that at the table, brother. I said it at the table, and I regretted it. I really regretted it, because it should have been something, but my mouth got me, man.
Yes, indeed.
But what I've learned is, you know, I have 5 children. And I'm a proud father. I love to call them my children. But what gives me the greatest joy is when they call me father. Right. And I don't think we can put ourselves over people like that. I believe they choose us as spiritual leaders. If somebody wants to call me a spiritual father, I'll let them say it. I won't say it.
Right.
You understand?
And you know, Pastor, people have a lot of fathers complexes anyway.
Yeah.
With their own biological fathers. And sometimes they take those problems into spiritual relationships, and they start to react out of that pain and out of that void of, I'm 35, 40 years old, and I didn't have a good relationship with my biological father. And so they take them same trust issues into spiritual relationships. And now the leader is having to suffer with rebellion, with unforgiveness, with resentment and bitterness. And I think it's important that if you're going to be a father, that you're going to have to realize, especially as a spiritual leader, that you're going to have to ungirth some stuff.
Yeah.
And that you're going to have to deal with some things that don't necessarily wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
You know, and some perceptions, man, you're not going to be able to take personal.
Well, I think that's why wise counsel, scriptures about wise counsel are so important. We have to seek out wise counsel. I think one of the stigmatisms of the challenges in the church historically has been the lack of counseling. And so we don't, and we struggle with dealing with those types of issues. You know, teenage pregnancy, you know, you basically get disbanded. You know, instead of the church wrapping their arms around you when you made a mistake. You know, that single parent, you know, the absent father. I think we have struggled in those areas, and rightfully so, because of our background going all the way back to slavery and how they separated families and all of that. It has always been a struggle. Now we have come leaps and bounds from that today. They won't give proper attention to the fact that Black men are fathering their children in a scale that's so much greater than any other ethnicity, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yes, indeed. There you go, Kevin. He says you're not gonna let them call you the GOAT like LeBron. Just quick comment. Hey, BJ, I appreciate you taking quotes and things that come from this broadcast, but I just ask that you put hashtag BOL.
So I think that, you know, one of the marks of an effective leader is recognizing that you don't have all the answers, and that you need to be surrounded by wise counsel. You know, have you a place to go and seek advice, seek input to deal with certain situations. You know, I've talked to preachers who said, you know, I've never had a drink in my entire life. You know, and in my mind, you know, there's someone out there who has an alcohol problem in the congregation, and they're saying, well, you're not the person I'm going to come talk to about my alcoholism.
Right.
So I think as leaders, we have to make sure that while we never had that experience, we make resources available that can relate to what you're going through now. I don't have to have been an alcoholic to counsel you about alcoholism, because I'm not going to counsel you about alcoholism. I'm going to counsel you about addiction.
Right.
You know,
making that distinction.
Right. And but you have to, you know, that whole I became like, you have to speak on a level that they can relate to.
Right.
You know, you can't speak over leaders. A lot of times leaders make the mistake. We make the mistake of speaking over the heads of those that are listening to us.
Right.
You know, and I've learned I'm not the smartest guy. So I try to make sure I understand it first. If I can understand it, I'm sure somebody else will understand it. I try to speak in very simplistic terms. I don't use big words. I hated vocabulary when I was in middle school. You know, I try to keep things simple, and I think leaders have to do that.
Right.
You know, not everybody can listen to Noel Jones preach.
Right.
No, they can't. You be like, is that a word? That ain't in a thesaurus.
Yeah. But you know what? That's him leveraging his DNA.
Right. So I think one of the marks we would say relatability. Being able to relate to the people that you're leading, because you know it's hard, like someone that's always speaking, their doctor such and such, and they're always speaking from that doctoral place, and you feel like, you know, you seem so far away, like something I can never be, I can never reach that. But they don't speak from the place from, I got a GED, I was in the hood, you know, these are my struggles, and this is how I overcame. You know, some people come on from the doctoral place, you're thinking like, were you born this? You know, like, you just, you know, and Pastor, to your point, you're right. Someone that said, I've never had a drink. I never smoked a joint. I never. Like, I was like, I can't, I'm right. I'm struggling. Like, I can't talk to you because you're already next to the glory. You're in glory. Like,
give me that. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you good. So that is key, that relatability in leadership, when you feel like you connect with your leader, that you're close enough to stay with them, or at least feel like there's something you can achieve. There's something you can become. But I think getting past that blockage of connecting, because even though leaders try to make themselves available, there's still that, like I talked about yesterday, there's still that tradition of hierarchy. You know, like, he's up there, you know, don't come to him unless you go through a lot of steps, you know, or there's no touch, you know, sometimes they misuse that touch my anointing, you know, do my prophet no harm. Like, you can't even get close to him unless you got your stuff right, you know, kind of thinking. And I think about what you said, Pastor, about the pastor being carried on by the four guys, and, you know, things like that make you think like, oh, he's Jesus'
first cousin.
You know, it's just moments like, because I've seen Pastor, because we all been in church you've been in different churches, and I've seen different levels of that. You know, where you get, and trust me, there was a moment I was drinking the juice, I was like, what's going on? You know, you take a moment back, like, wait, this don't seem right. You know, so this those moments. But go ahead.
I think it's we have to be able to relate. Absolutely, we have to be able to relate and connect with people. But good leaders have solid organizational structure,
right? And
to the point of, you know, if you can't get, I think you should always be able to get to your leader, to your shepherd. Right. It does not mean that you have to every time you want to.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Make that clear.
Right. I think when you have resources around you, when you set up a hierarchy and you have a resource even at a lower level that can meet the need,
right?
You know, I think that's the mark of a great leader as well. Not everything has to reach the pastor's desk.
Absolutely.
And that is a mark of a great leader. Right. If everything has to get to the pastor's desk, then
something is wrong.
You have failed somewhere.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that too, because if we look at the construct, of our counterpart, our Caucasian counterparts, they will have about 5-6 different pastors in one church.
Right.
But when you look at our culture, our Black culture church, it's
Ain't
all
but one
about
pastor.
it ain't but one pastor. And if anybody else want to be a pastor in here, there go the door. Why do I have to go out there and struggle? And why do I have to go out there and suffer and take on the burden by myself if we are supposed to do this thing together? This is where I believe the rubber is meeting the road now, because there has to be partnership in kingdom.
Right.
If the scripture says that every joint supply, and it's not good for man to be alone, it's not even good for a leader to lead alone.
Get her offline. Get her offline.
I'll see you next year. But I think that's something that we have to really shift, even on the local level of ministries, is find other leaders who can do what you can.
Right.
And of course,
if you look at the book, I think it was Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
He gives, I think he gives different types of leaders. Mm-hmm. He highlights different types of leaders, and when you have that singular mindset where everything has to come to me, that is a leadership style, right? It works for a smaller organization, right? And it can be effective, but it's not going to be effective everywhere. So I think there are varying leadership styles, and I don't want to dismiss, the person who has his fingerprint or his thumbprint on everything going on in his organization. Right. I'm not saying that that's wrong.
Right.
The question is, how effective is it? And that's going to be based on the type of organization that you're leading.
Right.
If it's 5 people, everything's going to hit my desk.
Right. Right.
Right. If it's 500 people, it's quite possible that everything is going to hit my desk. But if it's 5,000 people, if everything has to hit my desk, and it's 5,000 people.
But you done missed me with that. But I think
I'm hoping no one finds you.
that people's personal lives suffer when they're not being effective in their leadership role.
Yes.
People's marriages suffer.
Yes.
Like, you'd be surprised how many people that's over CEOs and over major organizations and especially in the church, whose personal life, their children are suffering, their marriages are suffering, they're suffering because they don't trust nobody to do what they're not being effective at.
Wow.
And it's just like, when do you say, okay, like Kevin Hart said, Negro, help me? Like, when do you get to the point where you be like, you know what, I need some time. I need some space. I need some reset time. I need some relational time with my family, because business will break your personal life if it's not governed properly.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because success is not easy to get, and there's a lot of sacrifices that's made that should not always be made.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think the mindset of having people around you who you can trust to govern when you're not available to govern, I think that's important too.
Well, and I think some of that is because we want to fail. I mean, we're comfortable failing, but we're not comfortable with anyone else failing. Right? When you delegate authority, be prepared to witness failure and be able to overcome it. That whole mindset of, I'll never ask them to do anything else again.
Right.
That can be a break. It causes a breakdown in the church as well, or in the business as well, or whatever your organization is. So when you delegate, give people room to mess it up so that they can learn how to overcome their mistakes. That's real. Because a lot of leaders handle everything because they're afraid that somebody else is going to mess it up. Well, they need to mess it up, or they'll never learn to get it right. You know,
Right. I
that's
think
tough. That's a tough.
perfection in the church, and I think that word excellence is pushed so hard that it leaves no room to be human. I'm being obedient. It doesn't have to be excellent. I'm being obedient. I'm handling it. It just might not go all the way like we planned. It might be
pick up the tissue.
The crucifixion of Christ
Right.
was the most beautiful failure in the history of mankind.
Right.
My Lord.
Right? Because he did not do what the people wanted.
Right.
And fellas, can we have a conversation about that?
You can operate in the spirit of excellence and
Right.
fail beautifully.
Right. Right.
I think we need to talk about that too, coming up real shortly, about how sometimes your leading is going to lead you outside of the norm.
Yeah.
I think that's important to talk about, because if we don't let people know that sometimes you're going to be rejected because God is calling you to lead people out of a mindset of ignorance.
Right.
And there's going to be some backlash from the system.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'll shape that. So real quick reset. I meant to do it at like 9:30, but we got real deep in our talk. You're rocking with the Brothers of Legacy, where we come on every single day, Monday through Friday. I think I'm probably trying to speak 7 days a week. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to when we stop. And we appreciate you rocking with 9 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you continuously following, sharing. If you just jumped on, you haven't shared, make sure you share. We're about to get out of here, but share so they can come in, catch the replay, watch it, and then be a part of our Freestyle Friday tomorrow. So definitely make sure you tag somebody, tag another man, tag another family that needs to hear this message, or even just be included in the conversation, because a lot of these conversations we have, people are having at home. So now you have a collective place to discuss it and kind of hash out some of the thoughts. That's kind of the purpose here. All right. So boom. Gerardo says many leaders have no succession plan or don't properly.
Oh, that's messy. Oh, that's messy. Ooh, that's messy.
We're going to table that. So we got succession.
Oh, that's messy. Oh, that's messy.
So I wonder if Moses wanted to see the grapes in the promised land. He was mature enough to send proven spies. Right.
I'll tell you something. Here's my question to that. Does the Bible record Moses' frustration with not being able to go? Does the Bible say anything about Moses being frustrated that he couldn't go? When Martin Luther King Jr. gave his speech, one of the things he said is, "I may not get there with you."
Right.
But he never said he was mad about it.
Right.
Because he was comfortable knowing that he had put everything out that he needed to put out. Right. And I think that's a great perspective, great question. Something to think about is leaders should be comfortable enough to not have to be at the finish line of those of your followers.
Right.
Just get comfortable with your finish line.
Right. Right. Listen, I'm excited. Just everybody's in the race. I feel like you've done your job.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of preachers can't let go of the microphone.
Right.
They want to get to your finish line.
Right. All right.
Donald Trump was done 15 years ago.
Wow.
And he's still out there. That's why he looks so crazy, because he should have sat down a long time ago.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, McNair. Fulfill your assignment.
Right.
Effective leaders understand their assignment. They fulfill their assignment.
Right.
No.
All right. So we're gonna roll up out of here before someone hit us with something else. We hear another hour. All right. So we appreciate you guys hanging and rocking with us. I usually call out my people, but I got two more people here. So right here, I got my man, Dr. Chris Burton, and Pastor Brian McCory. at the bottom, and I'm AD, the pusher, the grower, the motivator. So, and my missing folks, Terry Little, you've seen him, as well as my man Dwayne Goodson right here in the comment world. He got stuff going on in the house right now. It's a little chaotic. It's all good. Yes, Deborah, you have a great day as well, and we will see you tomorrow with Freestyle Friday. We haven't decided who's gonna run that yet. We'll see. All right, guys. As always, know that we love you, but God loves you more. Take care. Be blessed. Keep pushing. Keep growing, guys.